Side on RVNTV. My name is Ann DeSantis. I'm your host. It's great to be here. And I have a really great guest, somebody who's super positive. That's what this is, the positive side. So I have Dr. Colleen Georges. She is a professor. She is a certified life coach and a motivational speaker and an author of Rescript, the story you're telling yourself. So we have a great show. Stay tuned here. It's so great to be with you.
It's so good to be here. I'm
Thank
so
you for
glad to be
joining
here
me
today. Thank you.
Yes. So I thought we could start out with telling our viewers just a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in all of the things that you do.
Sure. So largely my background is in psychology. I studied psychology undergraduate and at Rutgers, and did my master's and my doctoral degrees in counseling. And you know, the original plan is always, we go a little off from the original plan. My original plan was, I thought I might like to work at a psychiatric hospital originally, then I thought maybe I wanted to work with teens and families. And then interestingly enough, when I was in graduate school, I got an opportunity to intern at the University Career Services office. I started working with college students there and kind of just fell in love with it. And that's where I think, you know, the career coaching interest came into play. And then my work was largely with college students for many years, and then that kind of evolved into, you know, doing more of the life and career coaching with the non-college population as well. So I've kind of got a mix of things in there.
And I know that you and I talked recently about gratitude. You
Yes.
are a wife and a mom of your wonderful son.
Yeah.
And stay very involved in his life
Yeah.
too. Awesome. So what is it like for you? You're a teacher as
Yeah.
well at Rutgers University.
Yeah.
Tell us about that aspect of your life.
You know, I love my students so much, and I just had my last classes this week, and I'm in sort of the grading phase of the semester. But I think the reason I love teaching is because for me, the college years, or really the young adult years, those late teens, early 20s, is a time when people are really kind of figuring out who they are, what they want for their lives, really thinking about every aspect of their identity. And I think it's also a time when we can be really hard on ourselves because you've got a lot of different pressures coming at you. And so, you know, college is a really tough time for me, some of the hardest years of my life. And so I work with college students and I teach because I want to be able to help students find that balance between academics and self-compassion and learning how to let go of anxiety and believe in themselves and have confidence and do the things that they're passionate about and be a force of good change in the world. And you know, being in the classroom is honestly one of my greatest joys of my life, and I truly love my students. I love getting to watch them grow and evolve throughout their lives, even after the classroom experience is over.
That's a good word. You said evolve, and
Yeah.
I think that really encompasses everything that you're doing with being a certified life coach, a motivational speaker, and an author.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I congratulate you for all the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I want to invite our viewers to take a look at your website, and I
Yeah.
believe is it drcolleengeorges.com?
ColleenGeorges.com. 2 L's, 2 E's. Yep.
That's right, ColleenGeorges.com. You have to check it out. She's got a beautiful website.
Thank you.
Learn a lot more about what she's doing. I want to talk about the book.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. It's Rescript, the story you're telling yourself. And it says that Dr. Colleen Georges is an author, coach, and speaker who helps individuals and groups clarify their goals, design and implement action plans, and rescript negative self-talk. Don't we all do that?
Yeah.
So tell us, what was it like writing this book and about the message?
The book is really, it's about self-talk. I mean, it's when I say the stories we tell ourselves, it's just that, you know, so often, unfortunately, we can be our worst enemies. And while I, you know that there's other challenges and things that we face in life, it's, I think, when we sort of also feed those challenges and we tell ourselves what we can't do, and we tell ourselves why we're not good enough or why we don't deserve the things that we want to do and the things we're passionate about in our lives, and can really talk ourselves down from our goals and the things that we want for ourselves. And I'm very much a believer in, we can't be forces of good in the world and give our gifts to other people if we can't empower ourselves. And so for me, this book is as much about being an advocate to ourselves as it is to being an advocate for good outside of ourselves, because again, it starts with what we can do here. If we can be self-compassionate, we can be other compassionate. So it's, it was quite a process it took me 16 years to get it done. Yeah. Mostly a lot of not writing. So more of those 16 years where there was not writing going on. But once I finally, kind of got out of my own way and followed my own advice, it just became about, sometimes we're not going to be able to let go of being afraid of something, and not being sure if we can do it. But, if it's important enough to you, got to do it anyway. So
that's right. The word that's coming into my mind is also empathy too, because you're having empathy for your own situation, which enables you to bring that out to other people. And like you said, making a change, helping to bring more goodness to the world, because we are in a suffering world. I know you would agree with that. There is so much heartache that many people, families, and individuals are suffering. So what is it like for you in dealing with your clients who are, kind of stuck? Because that can happen sometimes in life. There could be a job loss or a divorce or a situation that kind of brings us to that point of not being able to really move forward. So I wondered if you could expand on that.
Absolutely. I feel like one of the things that we often in life make either of two mistakes with, kind of things that we face, at least I feel, is that we either over immerse ourselves in it, meaning we think that those awful things, they become the only thing, and it's hard for us to see anything beyond those difficult things that we're experiencing. Or we try to trap it down and not look at it at all, right? We pretend this is not happening. If I just put it out of my mind, if I try not to think about it, it will go away. And I guess my belief is that when we experience loss of any kind or pain or trauma of any kind, you first have to process this and let yourself be a human being and let yourself feel it. Before you can really, get better at figuring out, okay, what do I do from here? So first we have to let ourselves be human and feel, and then it's about, okay, now that I'm trying to make sense out of where I'm at and how I'm doing, and being compassionate again with myself for the fact that, of course, I'm gonna struggle sometimes and I'm not gonna be on top of my game all the time. It's how do we take back control of those feelings and experiences so they don't become, they're, again, infiltrating our minds all the time, because that's a thing, right? You're trying to move forward, you're trying to do something positive, move forward in a relationship or in a career, and then we find our minds kind of perseverating, or as I say in the book, ruminating over these difficult things we're going through, and then we find ourselves sort of sucked back into those things. So how do we then, after we've let ourselves feel, take back control of our thoughts and give those feelings spaces. Not that we're not going to allow ourselves to feel, but how do I say, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to give myself time to do that later. Right now, I've got these other things I'm working on.
It almost sounds to me what you're describing a little bit, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy for those who are watching and are familiar with that. Sometimes they call it a CBT for therapist talk.
Yep.
And maybe you could explain to our viewers what that is. What is cognitive behavioral therapy?
Yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy is really just, kind of talking about the fact that sometimes it can, in life, it can seem as if something happens, an experience happens, and we immediately feel something, right? And really there's thoughts that precede those feelings, and they're so ingrained in our way of being, usually from childhood, beyond, that we don't even realize that there's particular thoughts, automatic thoughts that we're having, that's the cognitive part, that are a reaction to an experience. Then from those thoughts, we have certain feelings that are attached to those thoughts. And then we behave in certain ways after that. So first we think something, then we feel something, then we behave in a certain kind of way. So in order for us to shift feelings and shift behaviors, we first have to be able to reframe the way that we think about things.
I like that. So you said first you think it, feel it, and then behave.
Right.
So maybe it's almost like, you're catching yourself sort of
Yes.
like, you know what, I'm going down the wrong path.
Yep.
You know, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I'm the first to admit, you know, this
Me
is
too.
the positive side, right? and that I need this show, and I need people like Colleen. You know, she's so awesome in helping people to get to be able to re-script your life.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that just so important? I'm just so blessed to have you,
you.
because I believe in what you're doing, and I believe in you and what you're
you.
trying to bring to people, to bring them healing and hope, because I think that's what it's really all about, is bringing hope and healing.
Yeah.
Another thing that we talked about when we discussed on the phone was gratitude.
Yes.
It's such an important thing, so maybe we could talk more on that in your own life and in the lives of others.
Yeah, absolutely. The final chapter, or what I should say, one of the final chapters, and the T in Rescript, because Rescript is an acronym, is Think Thankfully. And that really comes from, you know, when I was in what I consider to be one of my darker places, and, you know, I was in my probably early to mid-20s. I was just very, very anxious, kind of in a negative place, feeling really down on myself. I was having panic attacks, and initially, like many people, didn't know what I was experiencing. Came to realize that they were panic attacks. It was reframing my thinking, and largely through the practice of gratitude, that changed everything for me. And that would probably be in about the year 2000. So we're going back almost 20 years now. And it was from, as many people might be familiar with Louise Hay.
Yes.
It was, you know, she had a book on gratitude. I found it in the bookstore, and when, you know, when I would, it was encompassing a lot of people talking about how they use gratitude to change their lives. And I started a practice myself back then, kind of quietly at night. I would just, in my head, I would think about, what are you grateful for today? And it's not easy to start out. I do this with my clients all the time. I have to even talk to my students about it. It's something I've been doing for 20 years. I do this with my son every night before bed. But boy, it's truly called, gratitude is called the queen of all virtues, because it's the thing that seems to be able to heal many ailments, emotional ailments.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know that when we also spoke earlier, that just the element of God and the fact of faith. I mean, not everyone believes. We know that.
Absolutely,
we know that we respect that not everyone is a believer. But knowing that there is a higher power, a God that is watching over you, and being grateful for what he provides, right? And such a big part of helping to have that gratitude, I would think.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I think that, you know, for me, that the ability to kind of look back at the day and you know, be grateful to there's something watching over us, as I feel, and you know, all of the things, those experiences we have with a stranger, conversations, a kind deed from someone, that all those things are, you know, from a higher power who's trying to look out for us. And I feel like we often will be quick to say, why did you do that to me? But maybe not as quick to say thank you. And I like to try to balance that out.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. We do have to take a break. So join us in just a few minutes on the positive side on RVNTV.
Shelter dogs aren't broken.
Absolutely.
They've simply experienced more life.
The nature of this show.
If they were human, we would call them wise.
Yeah, you know, again,
They would be the
it's
ones with
interesting,
tales
the
to
difference
tell,
you know, with clients,
stories
I
to
always
write.
tread lightly because I don't know
The ones
what
dealt a
those
bad
narcissists
hand
are,
who
and
responded
one of
with
your
courage.
example, whatever those are.
Do
And
not
in the
pity a
classroom,
shelter
I
dog.
have, you know, such
Adopt one.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
Add us on social media to watch bloopers, behind-the-scenes footage, previews, and more.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios without the shells. They're protein-powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me. Thanks, Liz. A woman without a lot of time.
Hello, welcome back to The Positive Side on RVNTV. And DeSantis here with Dr. Colleen Georges. She's so positive. I'm blessed. She is a certified life coach, motivational speaker, and an author. And I showed you the book before the break, but again, it's Rescript, the story you're telling yourself. So I want to just read you a little bit about that book. Some bullet points says she will help you with identifying limiting stories you're telling yourself that are keeping you stuck, quiet your inner antagonist quickly so it doesn't hinder you, amplify your inner advocate to cultivate positive thoughts and actions, stop criticizing yourself, dwelling on the past, and fearing the future, and recognize your self-worth so you can set and achieve your goals. So lots of good things in this book.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
I
really.
hope so.
And I'm so blessed because she gave me the book too. So
Yes.
I'm excited about
Yes.
being able to own this book and
Thank
read
you.
it and get to know better your mission.
Thank you.
So thank
Thank
you.
you.
Now, if somebody would like to purchase this book, can you tell us where they can find it?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. So there's a paperback, a hardcover, and a Kindle version of the book. So so for those who are e-readers, there's an online version as well. But yeah, it's right on Amazon, so you can get it on Amazon.
That's it. And again, Rescript, the story you're telling yourself. So right before the break, we talked about gratitude, a little
Yeah.
bit about faith.
Yeah.
I wondered if we could talk about a topic that I think does help people to kind of move forward, and that's forgiveness. Because
Yeah.
when you're forgiving, I would think that not only are you forgiving yourself for something that might have happened, but forgiving others too. Maybe you could talk on that and speak about how people can kind of move forward in that respect.
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's something I think is also such a life changer. You know, I think when we think about the word forgiveness, we think that it's synonymous with condoning something, right? So if I say I forgive so-and-so for what they did to me or for what happened, that we're, simultaneously saying I condone what they did and I think it's okay. But forgiveness isn't necessarily saying I think it's okay that you harmed me in some way or you hurt me. It's saying I no longer wish to hold on to that poison any longer. And I want to have enough compassion for myself and for others to say, I don't deserve to be re-traumatized over and over and over again with something awful that's happened to me. It's not to say that those things don't impact us, that they don't have a lasting, influence on who we become and how we behave, but it's like a poison. Anger, when we hold on to that stuff, it just hurts us and hurts us over and over and over again. And so just the ability to say, I'm forgiving because I know I've made mistakes, I've done things wrong, I'm not always perfect, and because I also don't want to keep re-feeling that awfulness every single day.
No, that's a good point because you are re-feeling that awfulness. I mean, absolutely. And use the word poison.
Yeah.
It brings me to a story of, have you ever heard that when you have a hard time forgiving, it's almost like you're drinking the poison and you're expecting the other person
Right.
to die from it. So
Yes. I love that quote. I forget who said it, but I love that quote. I was trying to
Right.
remember it and I couldn't.
Exactly. So you said poison. It did bring me to that. So I appreciate you bringing up, talking about that because I do think that no matter where someone is in their life, we all have that point of having to move on from something that might have happened that made you stuck.
Yeah.
That made you have to try to think to re-script, whether it was a job loss, some kind of relationship issue or divorce or something that would help you to be able to take that step forward to re-script and live out a positive life. Could you tell us about the kinds of clients that you have? I know that you're working with as a teacher
Right.
with young people, do you work with a lot of age categories?
I do. My clients range in age typically from, I joke and say 18 to 80, but that's probably about right. I work with people who are young adults. I work with, probably the large majority of my clients, I would say, are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. But I've got clients. I also run a wellness group that I've been running at the Cerebral Public Library for. It's a monthly group. We've been doing it for 6 years. Like I can't believe it's 6 years. And I have participants in my group that are, that range into their seniors, and so I work with everybody. And it's a multitude of different things. I would say that the large majority of people that come to me for one-on-one coaching have some semblance of a career challenge that's going on. Either they're, looking to re-career and they're trying to figure out what they want to do with the rest of their life, what they're passionate about, what brings them a sense of purpose, and, or they're looking to move up in their careers, or they're looking to manage challenges that they're facing in the workplace, or a balance, of course, between, trying to set boundaries so that they can have more time with their family and with their friends and for themselves and not just be consumed with work. But I also work with people on a lot of personal goals, whether it's just that thing they always wanted to do that they haven't done, and there's so many of those different things, right? And just helping people start, start those little steps towards those daunting goals that we get scared of. And so, and of course in relationships and folks that are, trying to get back out there again, and, or even develop close friendships, maybe because they're feeling a bit isolated, and they're trying to figure out ways to, to develop friendships with people and develop a sense of community, or work towards social issues that are important to them and get out there into the community and do those things. So just a lot of different stuff,
You're doing amazing work, really, just so
Thank
much.
you.
It's a real blessing for me to have you on the positive side, because I
grateful.
think, honestly, I think that's what the positive side is all about,
Yeah.
is all of these facets that you're discussing. I know that career is also another one, and you do
Yeah.
motivational talks
Yeah.
for companies. I wondered if you could talk about that part of what you do.
Yeah. So, I think just this past week I was, I got a call for something for the spring. But it varies. I work with nonprofits. I work with educational institutions. I work with corporations, and I do a lot of staff development type of work, helping people sort of re-inspire themselves in the workplace, because at some point sometimes we just kind of get stale and we're having trouble remembering why we like this job in the first place, right? Or we're just feeling kind of stuck and frustrated. So how do we re-inspire ourselves? How do we motivate one another? I do actually talk quite a bit about gratitude in the workplace and the importance of recognition that comes from all angles, and yes, it does definitely, need to happen from the top down, but it really needs to happen sideways too, that we're, and upwards, that we're able to recognize, if we manage people, recognize our staff members for their contributions, that we're able to say thank you to our colleagues who are helping us out with something, as well as acknowledge a supervisor that we think maybe is particularly great at developing us. So talking about gratitude in the workplace, how do we use our strengths? How do we know what we're great at? How do we learn to see one another different in the workplace? I do a lot of workplace conflict stuff. So when there's conflicts that are happening between people in the workplace, how do we begin to let go of old stories that we're holding, old grudges that we're holding against one another, and begin to decide to move forward and establish a new, renewed relationship sometimes with colleagues, so that we can do better work, so that we can be happy about being at work and not miserable? How do we not allow other people in our workplace to dampen our day? Someone walks in the office and their attitude is not great, and we go, oh, that person just ruined my day. How do we take back control of our own emotions in the workplace and not allow that to happen? How do we resolve conflicts, begin to see one another's strengths instead of just looking at why we think another person is lacking? So a lot of different things, but a lot of kind of just trying to infuse positivity and inspiration back into the workplace.
And you're doing a great job of it. I mean, as you're speaking, I mean, it starts with the individual person, but then it branches out
Yeah.
to the entire organization. So, hey, your organization would probably
Thank you.
benefit to working with Colleen, I would think, definitely. Now, you're located in central New Jersey.
Yeah.
Now, do you have clients that are mostly in the New Jersey area, or do you branch out into, say, New York or Pennsylvania as well?
I do. My work is I do both phone, Skype video, and in person for folks that are local to me. I'm in Piscataway, but I would say the large majority of my work is probably Skype video. So I work with people all over. Predominantly, I will say that a lot of my clients are from the tri-state area, just because it's easier to find people on the web that are from the tri-state area when you're a small business. But it's funny. Over the years, I'm always surprised when it happens. I've had clients in Arizona and California and Texas and Georgia. Like every once in a while, I get contacted by someone who has nothing to do with the tri-state area. So I work with everybody. Yeah, I work with everybody. When it comes to corporations, I'm predominantly New Jersey, just for the purposes of travel time, especially the 10-year-old and pickups and stuff like that. So I'm usually keep it close to the area where I live.
That's right. And a shout out to Josh and her husband,
Yeah,
too.
Josh and Jody.
Yeah. So definitely you want to check out her website again at ColleenGeorges.com. Now, are you on social media? Can they connect with you there too? Or
Yeah,
your pages?
yeah, and all my social media is connected from my website. So I've my Facebook, I think my Twitter and my Instagram and all that stuff, LinkedIn, all those things are on the webpage.
We do have to end, but I wonder if you
Yeah.
had maybe a couple other words of advice before we end the show.
Sure, I would say that negative critical self-talk is such a common thing. I rarely have met someone that doesn't either do that to themselves or know someone who does. And just the importance of every time that we find ourselves in a situation where you're feeling stressed or you're kind of ruminating over something that's not healthy for us, to be able to first say stop kindly to yourself. I usually say, stop it, Colleen, we're not doing that right now. Be very compassionate and kind in your tone. And then say, what do I control in this situation? Ask yourself that question. Act upon what we control, let go of what we don't.
Thank you. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank
on
you
the
so
Positive
much,
Side.
Ann.
Please come back again.
Oh, I'm so grateful.
Great.
I love what you do with this show. So just thank you so much for having me.
Means so much.
Thank you.
So we'll see you next time on the Positive Side on RVN TV.